Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to our broadcast today, our video on healing. Last week we did affirmations, and this week we're following on from that with how do you get by, really? And my name's Lorna, and we have Lizzie and Becca here today. So, just to start, I think the first thing we need to say is that we all have mental health in just the same way that we all have physical health, and it's important to know our own minds just as it's important to know our own bodies. And it prepares us for those days to come. So it's about getting through those bad times and just getting through to the better times. And we all use different ways of different tools to do that. For me, it's I tend to withdraw, so I don't ring people, I don't speak to them, and I just bury my head in the sand, really, like an ostrich. But experience has taught me that's not a great way for me to deal with it. So now I tend to be more open. I tend to use humor and say to people, "Oh, I'm in a," so I say something totally inappropriate, but it's my way of dealing with it, and hopefully people will pick up on that. And then those that know me know that actually it's my coping tool. Um, and I think we learn to do that, and we need to acknowledge how we cope, and we need to learn from our own experiences, and acknowledge those feelings. What about you, Lizzie?
Yeah, so I think you're really right there in terms of we've all had difficult times in our life. There are always going to be difficult times, and we all get through those in our own unique ways. I think for me, the way I've got through difficult periods of my life have been to keep really, really busy. So to be out of the house the whole time, be working lots, be out in the evenings and at the weekends visiting people, and not really having time just to sit. Another one of mine is to run, and again, if I'm having a really difficult time, I'll go running most days, and I'll run very long distances. And I think on the surface, they could sound like really good coping mechanisms, keeping busy, getting active, that's fine. But actually, what I have learned about myself is they were my ways of avoiding processing those difficult things. And actually, I took those things to the extreme. So what looked like good coping mechanisms they were too much. I wasn't able to relax at home, and I was running silly distances. Um, and that was my way of avoiding processing those difficult things that I'd experienced. But what I've learned is that I'll continue to use those. They do help me get through those difficult times. But I think what I'd like to do is add some other ways of coping into my survival toolkit, so to speak. So things like slowing down, maybe being in the moment a little bit more. So maybe practicing some mindfulness, giving myself the chance to recognize what is actually going on for me, and possibly talk a little more about the things that I've experienced. What about you, Becca? What about your experience?
Yeah, so my experience sort of similar in that, again, it's about balance, and that sometimes those coping mechanisms can be harmful, and in some cases they can become, or they can exacerbate mental health problems. So I had quite a lot of anxiety, and to get me through that really difficult point, I was again quite avoidant, and I also was really good, and unfortunately too good, at managing my exposure to things that made me really anxious. And back then I was really poorly, and I had quite a high level of anxiety just anyway, so anything would kind of push me over, and eventually I had to stop doing more and more and more until there wasn't really much I could do, because I just didn't have that place within myself that was unanxious that I could rely on. So my step to keep myself safe was just to avoid to do anything, and eventually that did become, as is probably quite obvious when you say it out loud like this, eventually that did become quite a bit of a problem for me. Whereas I was really good at managing my relationship with anxiety, I was too good at avoiding it. So I had then had to reassess my coping mechanisms, and understand balance, and face some more of my anxieties and deal with my underlying sense of anxieties. And I developed better coping mechanisms, and I became better at using avoidance as a coping mechanism, and that's how I got through those bad times. And I think also it's important to recognize the positive traits in you that will help you get through those bad times. So for me, it was a positive trait to me, maybe not other people, but my stubbornness that helped me get through those bad times, and just my refusal to like give up on myself. And that's kind of what our image is on this corner. And just about how you can flower and you can you can thrive. Tying it in with the title there, that was on purpose. But you can thrive in those bad times, and you can overcome them using your coping mechanisms.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've hoped to today just share a little bit about some of our own difficult times that we've been through, or more specifically, how we've got through those difficult times. And we just wanted you guys really who are watching today, for you to ask you to have a think, reflect back on some difficult times that you have been through and how you have coped, how you've got through and how you've survived those difficult times, and just kind of identify what those coping mechanisms were for you, and then also think about what else you could add to your kind of toolkit. We've talked about some things that we do that, yeah, okay, they are helpful, but what could we also do to add to our repertoire of ways to get through? So we've shared a few examples, and a few others just to get you thinking might be things like doing something creative, spending time with pets, listening to music, increasing your self-care, increasing your sense of belonging, allowing yourself to try again, allowing yourself to try something new, things like that. So have a little think, and if you'd like to let us know, you're more than welcome to comment and share your experiences with us. And we will see you same time next week, where we're going to be talking about hope. So we'll see you then. Bye.